Here we are at episode 2 of Kentucky Derby Talk. Trust the profits, it's the formula here, and we're running through episode 2 of my Kentucky Derby Talk. Yeah, we are starting in November. It is never too early to start, especially once BC is done. Um, Here you go. A little extra treat for you. My AI image of the week, horse racing in a Harry Potter-like world. Tune in every week to see which AI image that I bring up related to horse racing. I mean, it's a little gift I give to you. But you know what? Today I'm going to start off with some Derby power rankings. It's early. We're looking at the races that are coming through. Difficult to tell sometimes if these horses are even going to be geared towards the Derby, but some of them are coming out with some pretty impressive maiden special weight races. And I just want to highlight those. These could be horses that pop up on your radar. I throw them into my Derby power rankings. We see where they fall out. Sometimes they fall off and they end up becoming sprinters. Who knows? But yeah, we're going to talk through that. We're going to talk through a couple races that happened this weekend, namely races that included the horses I'm listing out here. And then we got one upcoming race that I wanted to take a quick look at because it could be interesting. But again, when the week's over, we'll see what else pops out. Moving on. Here we go. Unveiling my power rankings. What do we have here? No surprises at the top, obviously. You're not going to get a race that is going to eclipse what has happened at the BC Juvenile this early, right? In November, not going to see a whole lot of movement at the top unless we see some pretty crazy horses do some pretty amazing things. But the races aren't really set up to do that until we start getting into at least February. So Fierceness is at the top because we know what he did at the BC Juvenile, and behind him, Locked and Muth. I really like Locked here, so I went Pletcher 1 and 2. Gunrunner, obviously that's positive as well. Muth, as far as Baffert horses go, we'll see, because I'm not even convinced that that is his best horse, and we've seen this before. Cave Rock last year, Corniche, obviously those horses ran into some health issues, but they ended up not being, in the long run, the horses that he used at the Kentucky Derby. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully Muth has a healthy career ahead of him in 2024. We definitely want to see that. My number 4 horse here, horse that we're going to talk about in a little bit, Nash, running in his second race this past week. Brad Cox horse. I put him above who?
I'm bringing sexy back.
Yeah. Brad Cox has Timberlake that I put 9th here. Some people at Trust the Prophet's going to be a little bit upset about that, I can imagine. But I really do like Nash here. I'm projecting high on him, as I am for Knightsbridge, who we talked about last week. Bill Mott horse that recently broke his maiden. Booth, I'm projecting on him too a little bit here. Broke his maiden, beat some impressive horses, including Nash in his maiden race. Comes from Mytol, who's an amazing sprinting horse. Does that mean that he's going to be a sprinting horse? Possibly. But we have seen some cases of some horses coming from Mytol this year, and this is first year we get to see some Mytol ponies. Seen some cases where those horses have stretched out to 8.5 furlongs. So we'll see what happens with Booth. I'm going to keep him on my list for now. He's my favorite Asmussen horse at the very least. Prince of Monaco, the Wine Steward. Timberlake, as I mentioned before.
I'm bringing sexy back.
Yeah. And Mystic Dan, we'll get to him in a little bit here. Mystic Dan, I put him at 10th here, Golden Sense. He had a pretty crushing 5.5 furlong race. So we'll get to that in a second here. But yeah, let's move on to those races. What happened this past week? Yeah, I do want to point out Nash ran in a one of the races that we featured last week. Looking at the race, I think I had it between Nash and BU. I did favor Nash a little bit more, and so did the public, obviously, at 1.9 to 1. But yeah, Nash ran a hell of a race here. Wire to wire, gate to wire. Beat Just a Freak by 10 lengths in this race. Just a Freak, obviously, a Justify horse, which is Justify had an amazing Breeders' Cup this couple Fridays ago. So you can imagine Brad Cox has got to be pretty thrilled with the output that he got from Nash here, going gate to wire, 10 length win. And look at that final time there, 143. 1:41:04 by Successful Dan in 2012 was the track record there. So 2 seconds off the track record. I mean, Nash, congratulations. You're making my list early here and breaking through to beat a couple horses that were in BC just recently. So I'm feeling pretty good about that one right now. Moving along, the other race that happened at Churchill Downs. This is one where I thought Rapaport was going to be hands down the winner here, breaking his maiden finally, but ended up finishing a length behind Kitty Hawk. Kitty Hawk coming onto the scene, ran a couple turf races previous to this. So Kitty Hawk just now coming into dirt, went gate to wire here, gave a little bit at the end, as you can see here, went into the stretch with a 3-length lead, but got that trimmed down to 1 length. So Rappaport was running out of real estate there toward the end, ran out of ground, as you can see from the comments. In terms of times, Successful Dan obviously 141, 145 here. So this was not the race that the previous one was that I was showing. This was the second tier race, I would say. Moving along. Oh dear.
Hold on. Oh no. Do you believe in that? Huh? Oh no.
Oh, I do believe in that because Coach Prime broke his maiden in his second race. This is Bob Baffert horse here. Coach Prime broke his maiden in, 7-length win there. Got a 2-length lead at the stretch, stretched it out to 7 lengths. Pretty impressive. Going a mile on dirt didn't do the 8.5 furlong that we saw in the other races. But yeah, pretty successful run at Del Mar for a horse that a lot of people have had on their radar. Is this going to be the Baffert horse? It's going to be one of the Baffert horses, I would suspect. Yeah, Coach Prime 137, track record 133. Not super successful, but still got the job done, did what he needed to do, and gave me an opportunity to drop that Deion Sanders drop. Yeah, Coach Prime. The other thing I wanted to mention here, yeah. So what I talked about last week, Coach Prime, Bartholdi, indispensable. I didn't put the number up here, but I think that trifecta was $13, a modest trifecta. But I had all 3 horses for you there last week. Yeah, just bringing that up. Mystic Dan. Oh yeah, this is an exciting one. Only 5.5 furlongs, so I'm trying to temper my enthusiasm on Mystic Dan, but did it in some pretty impressive fashion here. So looking at Cashier's Dream, a 102.52. Mystic Dan comes in less than a second off the record. Impressive. Mystic Dan also not gate to wire. Obviously at that quarter mile mark was in second place, a length behind Chun Money, but pretty much gate to wire. He was on the pace the entire time and winning in a 5.5 furlong race by 7 3/4 lengths. Um, Mystic Dan, impressive. You got on my list this week in your second race. Yeah, second race. In that first race at Keeneland was only in his first race at Keeneland, only a length behind in that race. So already Mystic Dan starting to do some pretty impressive things. Is he going to be long distance? I mean, he's breaking his maiden here at 5.5 furlongs. Maybe, maybe not. But I got him on my list for now. Definitely an honorable mention. And finally, Pilot Commander and Imagination. So 2 Bob Baffert horses. Pilot Commander going 6 furlongs here. But this is a horse that comes from Justify. Going 5.5 furlongs here. Sorry, 6 furlongs here. Gate to wire. Winning by 2.25 lengths over Imagination. Another Bob Baffert horse. And off the track record by about 2 seconds in that shorter race, obviously, but definitely a horse you got to keep your eye on. Justify, Bob Baffert, Pilot Commander, going to make the list at some point, I believe. And finally, let's look ahead to a race here. So Sunday the 19th, race 7. This is one that I was curious about, one that I was interested in. We've got Carbone here, comes from Mytol. Mytol suggests a sprinter, right? But VV's Dream, this is what I was mentioning before when we were looking at a Mytol horse. VV's Dream doing well at 8.5 furlongs. And Carbone has had some great workouts, comes from Steve Asmussen. So I like Carbone here. I think my favorite, though, here is Miyagi running in the second race. Look at the workouts on Miyagi. order wise, I should have flip flopped. I get it. I get it. Miyagi's second race here, finished behind Booth and Nash and Rapaport last time out. But look at the workouts that come from Miyagi, dropping 46-second, 4 furlongs. I think he's got some 59-second, 5 furlongs in there as well. Comes from Curlin. So yeah, you're going to get some distance out of that horse there. So love what we see coming out of Miyagi, and I have a feeling this is the one where he breaks his maiden. Decatur Street, Firster. Good workouts coming from Decatur Street there. Street Sense, strong jockey trainer combo, I believe. Oh, who is it? Leperoux or Giroux's going to be riding on. I should have written that down. But yeah, I think those are a strong top three for this race. So there you have it. What do you guys think? Let me know. What are your Derby thoughts this early on? Yeah, give us a thumbs up. Tell your friends. Keep watching. Have a good one.